Rise and shine, little precious pearl. You are being shaped by pressure, and one day they will pretend it was kindness. Osaka wakes sticky and loud. The year is 1678, and the Dotonbori Canal smells like fish guts, old rice, and the sort of secrets that ferment in muck. You're 9 years old, kneeling on slick stone at the market's edge, wrists aching as you split mackerel clean down the spine. Your hands are raw, your sleeves never dry. Summer presses down like a bad, overbearing landlord. Your mother is not cruel, she's tired, which is worse. She treats childhood like a luxury item your family can't afford. She's basically a market worker version of Miss Hannigan from Annie. When you fumble a knife, she yanks it back with a hiss, scolding you for cutting wrong rather than cutting yourself. Do you think fish grow cheaper if you stare at them? She snaps, smacking your shoulder with the back of her hand. But she keeps you close, always within reach, always fed just enough to last. In her world, survival is love, and sentiment is for people with savings. All of a sudden, two women stand where the sun should be. Silk like liquid lacquer, white faces smooth as porcelain bowls, hair pinned into architecture sharp enough to wound any ego. They don't look at the fish, they look at you. One tilts your chin, checks your teeth, turns your hands over like merchandise. You don't yet know the word Kimuro, but your body does. Children learn these things early. The leather pouch opens, coins fall into your mother's hand. It's a dramatic sound, like a Hans Zimmer symphony, but it rearranges the future, not notes. She doesn't meet your eyes. Your mother turns away, shoulders tight, grief hidden. By dusk, you're walking through the gates of Shinmachi, Osaka's licensed pleasure quarter, where lanterns bloom like sanctimonious sins and music hums in practiced sweetness. Inside, names evaporate. You're told you're Komuro now, a child attendant. You will carry trays, fold robes, pour tea, sleep curled near your senior's futon like an afterthought that breathes. Your senior is Takagawa, an Oiran with a reputation expensive enough to make Warren Beatty broke. She ignores you for months. When she finally speaks, it's to strike you for folding her obi incorrectly. Good. Pain means instruction. You study your mentor the way an alchemist might study the star. Nothing about her is accidental. She moves slowly, not because she is unhurried, but because she can afford to be. In Shinmachi, speed belongs to desperation. As an Ohiran, she sits higher, speaks later, and allows silence to bruise the impatient. This is not temperament, it's rank made visible. Lower women must accept whoever pays, whatever the mood, whatever the cost. She survives by choosing. That refusal is her true currency. She pours sake only after she is asked twice. She answers compliments as if they were weather reports. Her fan opens and closes like punctuation, deciding where conversations end. Men lean forward when she leans back. You understand then, her elegance is not softness, but distance made beautiful. Beauty draws them in, but restraint teaches them how to behave. You memorize every pause, every delay, knowing that one day your body will be expected to speak this language fluently. By 13, you are named Shinzo, apprentice, a rank that grants visibility without power. It sounds like progress. It isn't. Training does not teach you how to be beautiful, it teaches you how to disappear correctly. Tea ceremony comes first, because stillness must be mastered before grace is permitted. Your knees swell and harden from hours of kneeling until discomfort stops registering as something worth noticing. Shamisen practice turns your fingers into instruments, blistered and rebuilt into obedience. You memorize poetry written by men long dead, verses about longing you are not allowed to feel. Meaning is irrelevant. Precision is everything. Your voice is trained higher, softer until it settles into a register meant to be listened to, not believed. Laughter must remain closed-mouthed, shoulders still. Amusement is tolerated, joy is corrected. Somewhere between ritual and repetition, you understand the real curriculum. They are not refining your talents, they are sanding you down, smoothing away anything that might interrupt the performance. Shinmachi does not just polish girls into art, but cultural legacy. One girl faints. The house mother beats her upright with a bamboo rod. Weakness, like individuality, is considered unsightly. At 16, they wake you before dawn. Debut day. The Oiran Doshu, the ceremonial procession, is less a walk than a declaration. 40 pounds of silk are strapped to your body. The obi is tied in front, advertising availability with religious clarity. Your hair is sculpted into a tower with pins heavy enough to give you a brutal headache. Then the shoes. Komogieta. Varnished platforms 8 inches high. You've practiced for months. It does not make them forgiving. You step into the street at a pace that mocks time itself. One foot crossing the other, slow enough to suggest floating. The crowd gathers, men stare. Women count seams and silently inventory your worth. You feel nothing but pressure. Silk pressing down and expectation pressing harder. That night comes the mizuage, the auction. A rice merchant from Kyoto wins, old enough to remember famine like a fond childhood friend. He signs with trembling hands. The room is quiet. You leave your body the way you learned to years ago, cleanly, efficiently. Afterward, you bathe, repaint your face, and return to the parlour, because now you are at Oiran, and now the performance begins. Your 20s vanish like parchment in a pond. Gifts arrive like sparrows to a brush. A jade comb worth more than a house. Poems comparing your eyes to mountain lakes. One young merchant sends you a severed finger wrapped in silk, proof of devotion. You keep the comb, you burn the finger. Romance is only charming when it doesn't bleed on the floor. Here is the secret of Shinmachi's power they don't advertise. At your rank, you may refuse. Most men will not risk public rejection. You choose carefully. Clean men, quiet men, men who can pretend you're human for an evening. By your late 20s, your name travels faster than you do. Actors mention you on stage, artists chase your likeness. You forget, sometimes, where the mask ends and you begin. In silence, alone with your shrine, your gods, and your incense, you close your eyes and remember a full life of fish guts and bitter coldness. You reflect on how one day, one moment changed everything. You're still in a position of labour, but this one is flowery, artful, revered. No one has ever looked at a fishmonger's daughter and thought that is an elegant young lady. No one has ever gifted a girl covered in fish guts, the glory of attention. You whisper silently, thank you. You know how different life could be. Then comes the night that seems ordinary. Your regular patron arrives, wealthy, well-regarded, careful with his manners. He undresses with the slow confidence of a man accustomed to being indulged. It is you that notices the marks first, faint red blooms scattered across his back, raised just enough to catch the lantern light. He scratches absently when you mention them, laughs, says they itch, but it's nothing. Summer rashes are common in Osaka. The city crawls with heat and bodies and bad air. You let it go. You've been trained not to make problems where men insist there are none. By morning, you wake burning. Your skin prickles as if stung from the inside. Red spots climb your arms, your chest, and your throat, small at first, then swelling, filling, and tightening until your own body feels unfamiliar beneath your hands. The house whispers. Doors close. Someone says, "Usu," pox, the word used for everything from mild sickness to divine punishment. No one knows which this is. No one knows yet that this is chickenpox, only that it spreads fast and does not ask permission. Within days, Shinmachi falls silent. A third of Osaka sickens. The air reeks of vinegar and burned herbs. Bells ring constantly, not for prayers, but for the dead. Fever pins you to the futon. Your skin blisters and weeps, every movement tearing fresh pain loose. The itching is worse than the fire, relentless, maddening, and impossible to escape. Your eyes swell until light hurts. Your throat closes, breath coming shallow and wet. Sleep arrives in fragments, thick with delirium. Faces blur and time dissolves. They tend you with the best care money can buy. Cooling cloths, herbal washes, incense burned to appease whatever spirit they believe has taken offence. It makes no difference. The sickness does not care who you are. You die quietly, days later. 31 years old, famous, exquisite, and helpless in the end as anyone else. Your funeral is everything your life trained you for. An ornate procession winds through Osaka, painted palanquins, silk banners, incense thick enough to sweeten the street. Offerings burn in piles worth more than your mother earned in her lifetime. Artists sketch the scene. Poets compose their grief on commission. The city mourns its loss. The the Oiran whose beauty bent time and space like she herself was quantum physics. What they do not mourn is the girl who gutted fish by the river. The poets do not write about little girls living in poverty with sweaty brows and sopping sleeves. They do not remember the name that was taken the same day money changed palms. They do not say that your life could have been spent ankle deep in water and scales, counting coins that never added up, and instead was spent wrapped in silk, admired, desired, and consumed. Both lives were labour. Both ended the same way. The first girl died when the coins landed in your mother's hand, and now this version dies too. All masks laid to rest. The masks were ornaments, a mirror held up for others to admire themselves in, and when the mirror cracked, the city swept up the pieces and called it tragedy. Centuries will romanticize you, fetishize you, mock you, and call it admiration, but to some, those who understand the gravity of your sacrifice, you will always remain immortal beauty.